Before closing the books for good on 2022 in film, we've got to play catch up with a bunch of movies that I missed along the way, and I'm going to take them month by month. So right now we're going to talk about movies that came out in January of 2022, The 355, The Tiger Rising, The Fallout, and Sundown. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my January 2022 wrap up. I know we're in 2023. It's even past January now, so these movies are all over a year old. But, before we put the finishing touches on my best and worst of 2022, there were a handful of movies that I really wanted to get through. And I just, for whatever reason, didn't get to. Either I didn't get to see them in theaters, or whenever they came out on streaming, I was busy with other videos or whatever. And so I figured, let's just kind of take a month by month. We'll do a handful from each month, and then we'll have the finishing touches for the best and worst of the year. And you know what? Sometimes I did this last year as well for 2021 movies, and sometimes you find some real gems. One of my A pluses, one of my 3 A pluses from 2021 came from these wrap-up videos, a movie called Mass that I thought was excellent. I never even really heard of it until I started looking into some movies that I missed over the year. So that's kind of what we're going to do here. And a couple nice things is, number one, these movies are old enough that they're all readily available on various streaming sites. You don't have to go to the theater to see them. You don't have to find them on demand or pay for them. If you pay for the subscription service, you're going to be able to see these for free. So that's number one. Number two, because these are a little bit older, I'm not going to do the 8 to 10 minute videos that I usually do per movie. We're going to get through these, maybe 4 or 5 minutes a piece, and then just move on to the next one. Because they're not on top of mind. People are not necessarily going to be seeking these videos out. But listen, think about subscribing to my channel, because I do put out movie and TV review videos just about every day. And if you are interested in what else I looked at in 2022, what else I've reviewed along the way, there is a 2022 review for movies playlist, and it's on my homepage. You can just check it out and scroll through all of the movies from 2022 that I have reviewed there. So some big names in these movies too that we're going to talk about today, including Tim Roth in Sundown, Queen Latifah and Dennis Quaid in The Tiger Rising, Jessica Chastain and Penelope Cruz, among others, in The 355, and the it girl of the moment, Jenna Ortega, is the star of The Fallout. So we're going to talk about these in the order that they were released, and right at the beginning of the year, the first week, I think, of 2022, this movie, The 355, came out in theaters. So we're going to talk about that one first. This is a female inspired spy action movie featuring Jessica Chastain and Penelope Cruz, like I said, but also Lupita Nyong'o, Fan Bingbing, and Diane Kruger among them. They all play these international spies who are working together to stop a terrorist organization from starting World War III. And some of the men involved in this include Edgar Ramirez, Sebastian Stan, and one of the guys sort of leading the charge for this, possible terrorist attack and whatever, is Jason Fleming, plays like a big crime lord here. So look, this is a little bit of a passion project for Jessica Chastain. She produced it, and she actually sort of brought the idea to, some of the suits at the studio. And, she wanted to do something a little bit different from the male-dominated world of, kind of, I don't want to say stupid action movies, although this is a stupid action movie. I don't think that was necessarily the goal, though. I think she just wanted to make we see so many spy movies with men in the leading roles, or groups of men, and I think she sort of had her sights set in a little bit of a different tone. But here's the problem. The script here is just not very good, coupled with the fact that they're sort of throwing every trope in the book here with this movie, and that includes kind of the direction of the action sequences. And the director is a name I was not necessarily familiar with, Simon Kinberg, but we do know his work in the action department because he co-wrote Mr. and Mrs. Smith and the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes as well. And he's also, been a producer on some big movies, including The Martian. So, look, this guy knows his way around an action movie. So, why is this one so bad? And Jessica Chastain, really, one of my favorite actresses working. Reese Witherspoon for a long, long time was my absolute far and away favorite. But, Jessica Chastain and Amy Adams have both come up in the ranks, in the last maybe decade or so. But the problem is, all three of these actresses that I've mentioned, Reese, Amy Adams, and Chastain, they've been picking projects lately, the last couple of years, that I think are not worthy of their talents. Chastain sort of at a weird moment in her career because she had all of these really, big Oscar contender pictures right out of the gate, like Zero Dark 30, and The Help. And now she's sort of in this, what do I do with my career mode? So she's trying different things, and maybe another action movie could be in her future. Although this is, I think, the second one in a row that she did that is not very good. The first one was it Ava or Anna? I think it was called Ava, and I gave that like a really bad grade. I don't know. I might have even failed it. So not a hot streak there with action, but look, there's nothing Jessica Chastain can't do, right? I mean, she's like Emily Blunt. There's another one of my favorites that actually she just keeps plugging away with these great projects. But she's sort of tackled every genre, and I think Chastain is working her way around that as well. But look, okay, there's some camaraderie with the women in this movie, but the script is just so anemic, and the character development is almost non-existent. So, if this were a male-led action movie, I would give it a very bad grade, and probably a D in that range. And so as a result, look, changing the gender does not swap out, bad script for a better script. It just doesn't. They should have punched it up a little bit. If it was a male-driven movie, I would give this a D, and so as it is such, I am sticking with that grade for the female version. I leave the 3.55 with a D. You've got to, and listen, we've had all-female action movies before, and they've been much better than this. So, it certainly isn't any kind of bias in that regard. All right, next up, we will talk about The Tiger Rising. And if I didn't mention it, the 3.55, I believe you can get that on Amazon Prime Video. That's where that is streaming now. The Tiger Rising is a Netflix original, so you can still stream it there. And it is based on this very popular book from about 10 years ago. I was unfamiliar with it, but it's a kid's book that I don't know if they read it in school or whatever, but apparently kids love this thing, and so they figured, well, let's put some famous faces in this movie, Queen Latifah and Dennis Quaid, and it's basically about this 12-year-old boy, Rob, played by Christian Convery, who you may recognize from the recent movie Cocaine Bear, but he was also in another Netflix production, Sweet Tooth, which was a really cute show. But he discovers a caged tiger in the woods near his house, and so his imagination runs wild, gets the better of him, and life begins to change for him in some unexpected ways. Queen Latifah plays the maid of the house, and really, I don't want to call it like a disrespectful role, really, but it certainly was not progressive. Let's just say that. And then there's also a new girl in school played here by Madeline Mills, and so they kind of make friends and stuff. This movie is even worse than the 3.55. Actually, I could not find much to like about this movie. The acting is not very good here. I will give the 3.55 that the women were all trying their best. Nobody was phoning it in. Dennis Quaid, I think, has been phoning in roles now for like a decade. He's just, and he, look, was a great actor in the 80s and into the 90s, I guess, too. But his movies lately just are he's just phoning in his roles in them. Even if the movie, is okay, his performance usually is, closer to the bottom of the barrel. The last, really good movie I can remember him being a part of was Soul Surfer. He played the dad there, and he was great in that. I'd like to see more of that. And Queen Latifah, I can take her or leave her. I think in some roles she's certainly better than others. But the two of them together brought nothing to the table here. And even the kid, Christian Convery, who I think could have, a bright future ahead. He's a cute kid. He's fairly talented with good material, but that was not this at all. Visually, it was, kind of jarring how bad the CGI of the tiger was. And when he went into sort of his imagination world, I guess it was a little more interesting at that point, but not enough to get me through. And this girl who was acting alongside him was really bad. I'm not sure if I recognize her from anything, but so she wasn't doing it for me either. But the whole movie was kind of a snooze fest. It did not make me want to read the book, that's for sure. I should ask my nephews if they read it in school, because they're of that age that maybe they did. Apparently, a lot of people know and love this book, but I have heard that even people that love the book hate this movie. And I'm with them. I didn't even read the book, and I'm not a fan. So yeah, I'm not with this. I give The Tiger Rising an F. I haven't had too many Fs in 2022, but I think we'll find some more as we go through this journey of wrapping up the 2022 movies. Both of these movies, though, by the way, Tiger Rising and 355 are rated highly on Rotten Tomatoes from the audience perspective. But well, actually, the 355 might not be, but Tiger Rising is. But critically, it's on the low end for sure, 17%, so not great there. All right, let's talk about The Fallout now. This was an HBO Max original movie, so that is where you can still find this one streaming, and it features Jenna Ortega, like I mentioned, the hottest thing going right now. She's got The Wednesday Show. She was just in Scream 6, which was a big hit. But she plays this gal in high school who is navigating some severe emotional trauma following a school shooting, in which she saw many things that young people should never have to see. And Maddie Ziegler stars in this, as well as a dear friend of hers. That is sort of on the rocks based on some of the emotional stress lately that have been experienced. Julie Bowen from Modern Family plays the gal's mother. And Shailene Woodley has a supporting role as well. And this is an interesting one because a lot of people doing sort of first-timer things here. Phineas O'Connell, who you may know better as Billie Eilish's brother, but he produces all of her records. He actually, did the score here for this movie. He may have scored some other movies. I don't know if he's done a whole movie though. But this is him here. And then in her directorial debut is Megan Park, and she wrote the script for this as well, which is impressive when you watch this movie. I didn't realize that. Usually I just watch a movie for what it is, and then I sort of do the research after the fact. I don't even like to watch trailers and stuff. I like to go in real fresh. But finding out after the fact that this was a first-time director really impressed me. But Jenna Ortega, I mean, how great is this girl? She is, she's a woman now, right? She's probably 20 or 21. But, she's been obviously on the rise the last couple of years. She was in the previous Scream movie a couple of years ago. But Wednesday sort of, shot her to the top of the It list. And I really think she is going to be a powerful force in the next few years. I just mentioned this when I reviewed the new Scream movie recently, but she's excellent in this, to be able to navigate sort of this character that is going through a lot of different emotions, sometimes within the same scene, between trauma and, finding maybe a lighter side of what happened to you, kind of, trying to work through your trauma with humor. There's a little bit of that here. There's there's a classic, tripping scene, which I don't love that, but at least it's so overdone in film. I talk about that all the time, but at least in this, there's a good reason, that she wanted to get messed up with some, psychedelics. She wanted to forget her life for a bit, and it makes sense. And the mother-daughter relationship here between the Jenna Ortega character and Julie Bowen is great as well. It's super believable. And there's like a sister involved as well who has, she has other experiences, not necessarily with the school shooting, but there's some stuff at play there, and they play very well off of each other. The movie all seemed very authentic, and very real. If I had a couple complaints about it, I don't think Maddie Ziegler is a great actress. She was in that horrible Sia movie, Music, which was a fail, but it was not her fault necessarily. But I think when compared, when being in the same scene with Ortega, she couldn't quite keep up. So that's maybe one nitpick there. And then yeah, the drug scene is a little bit overdone. But I will say here, I do think, like I mentioned, it works well within the confines of what the story needs. And yeah, the direction from this first time director, Megan Park, really, really strong stuff. And I'm not sure if, it seems so real, the characters and everything. I'm not sure if someone in her life or maybe her herself went through something similar to this. But it seems to get the emotions right, and it pulls at the heartstrings, I think, the right amount. It's not overly done. So yeah, for me, this was a very good film. I leave The Fallout with an A minus. See, we find diamonds in the rough here when we go back and look at some movies we missed. All right, so finally, we're going to talk about Sundown. This was a theatrical film, but you can find it now on Hulu, and it stars Tim Roth as Neil Bennett, who is on vacation with his family, his wife played by Charlotte Gainsbourg, and they are in Acapulco, I believe, and he or I'm sorry, maybe it's not his wife. Did she play his sister? I saw this movie like 3 months ago, I have to admit. In trying to catch up on everything, it's been a little bit while, so I'm not sure. But that doesn't necessarily play into the plot. But in any event, so he's on vacation with his family, let's say, whether it's sister or wife, I can't remember. But they are ready to leave, and he says, oh, you know what, I left something behind at the hotel. Let me meet you guys at the airport. Doesn't make it to the airport, ends up actually staying in Acapulco, and it seems like, okay, what's going on with this dude? He's being a complete a-hole to the people that love him. What's the deal? And that is part of the sort of mystery element of this movie. And I will say, it is not one that everybody is going to want to take with this character, because he really comes off. About halfway through the movie, I was like, man, I don't know if I can take much more of this guy. He's really being kind of a jerk off to these people. And we sort of, it's not even an unraveling. It's sort of a more of just a reveal towards the end of the movie, when it gets kind of bonkers and we sort of learn what's really going on. And I'm not going to give any of that away. I don't do spoilers on new movies unless I specifically stated, and that's not what we're doing here. So that's what I'll say about the plot. But I think it will be hard for some people to sort of go on the journey with this character, because he is kind of loathsome in his wheelings and dealings, in his persona. But personally, I was intrigued enough that I didn't hate it, but I was like, this better be going somewhere, and then it turns out it was, and I was very satisfied actually with the ending. But it's a risky move, I think, from this director, who I think also wrote the screenplay. We've got a lot of writer-directors here today. Michael Franco, no relation to James and Dave Franco, but he is a director in his own right. I'm not super familiar with him, but he works mainly in Mexican films, and so he's more famous in that capacity. But it was, I think, very risky to really wait until the end of the movie to find out what is actually happening. And I respect that, but I know that it's hard to kind of be along for that journey, um, along the way because, yeah. But Tim Roth is, look, the guy is a great actor. I think sometimes he does not maybe get his due, but look, Tarantino's known for a long time how great he is. I like Tim Roth, and I think he's a good person for this role because I think you do need somebody who has some, type of charisma, but also can play kind of a sleazeball very well. And so that's what happens. I think this is one of these movies that it's like the less you know kind of going in, maybe the better. So I'll let you sort of make your own mind up with this one. But this was a risk, but I do think it paid off. I leave Sundown with a B. All right, so there you go. Two good ones, two bad ones. And we'll continue on this path here as we go through the year 2022 leading up to my best and worst of the year. So look out for those videos. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.